Somebody posted a comment on my YouTube the other day and asked if I actually have a life, which, given the state of the world at the moment, is quite possibly one of the stupidest things that anyone's ever said on my YouTube channel. I consider myself very lucky. I have a good and supportive family. I have my physical health as well as my mental health. I am fortunate that I have taken great care of my working life and my finances over the years. Not perfectly, but it means that I survived the lockdowns, my business survived, and it means that I will survive the cost of living crisis. I don't want for much in the world anymore. I'm not impressed by big cars, fancy houses, 3 holidays abroad every year. It's just not me. If your idea of having a life is spending huge amounts of money on material things that nobody really cares about at the moment, then go for it. But don't judge other people for how they live their lives, because right now, if you can keep a roof over your head, food on the table, if you have kids, if you are giving them a quality of life which enables them to get through this, and if you're on your own and you have a support network that is helping you, frankly, you're doing okay, because there are people that have lost absolutely everything. They've lost their homes, they've split up with partners, they've lost their families. And that's just now. In COVID times, lots of people lost family members. So, yes, I have a life. Yes, it needs improvements, but I do everything within my own abilities. And things are pretty good, actually. This year is going to end on a better note than it began, and it's going to end on a better note than last year ended when I started this channel, which I think was around the beginning of December. It's going to be coming up to a year. I've gained, suddenly, I know I mentioned it the other day, I've suddenly gained even more followers. And I know it's because I'm talking about universal credit, the school system. I know there are political elements to what I say. I'm not a political channel, but I think I'm providing a little bit of a sounding box. I do hold all my comments. Nothing gets through unless I approve it. But if you say something that's constructive, or you're just, responding to something in a decent way, I will let your comment through. I think I've only deleted like 3 or 4 comments since I actually started this channel, because, touch wood, so far, touching wood, I don't get the weirdos. I'm sure that will change, and I am surprised I don't get more. I guess I'm just not interesting enough for them, and I'm pleased about that, because this channel is really about me just having a sounding box and not being all ranty and ravey. This is really about trying to provide a little bit of help for other people, because my frugal way of living is quite frugal. There are much more frugal people out there in the world than me, but all these little tactics will help me get through what's going on at the moment. Someone said the other day, and said I was very middle class, and I didn't really some of the issues I was facing wasn't, but we all have our own limitations. And so what if you think I'm middle class? I can still bake a loaf of bread. And that's the point of today's post, actually, is I know that the price cap's come down by a fraction of a penny. Most people won't even notice it. and one of my important things that I've been trying to do is use my oven as little as possible, which I know a lot of people are doing. I'm lucky because I have gas and electric where I live. I have a gas hob, so I do nearly all my cooking on the hob now because the gas is marginally cheaper than electric. But there are days when I need to use the oven. I do all my own baking. I scratch cook, so pretty much everything I bake from scratch. So I'll do all my main meals, and then I'll also do desserts, things like that, things that last longer. So today I'm having a baking day, and that's mostly because of this beautiful potato. I bought a bag of regular spuds from Tesco the other day, and this one massive potato was in the bag. That deserves to be a baked potato drowned in baked beans, and I don't do this very often because they take so long to cook. So I'm going to cook this my way, which is more efficient than just throwing it in the oven, which is what a lot of people do and how I used to do it. And because the oven's going to be on, I am also going to make some baked stuff. Now, I was going to make a soda bread, and then I was going to divide it up and put it in the freezer, but I'm not sure I've got enough space in my freezer. Let me double check. I might have enough space in the freezer. I think what I might do is make lots of little loaves, so rolls, instead of one big loaf. Or I might just divide the loaf up and freeze it. I've just got enough space in the freezer for, say, half a loaf. But I also wanted to try a marrow cake, because I've still got some of that big old marrow left. Not a lot. I made some of it into, blended it into casserole, and that's in the freezer. I've been using a lot of it stir fries on the hob, and I've got some left, and I want to try and make this marrow cake before I finish the whole thing and don't get to try it. I've made carrot cake before. Carrot cake is a wonderful recipe, but it uses lots of ingredients. It uses a lot of oil, a lot of sugar, and a lot of eggs, and they're expensive things right now, and I'm not keen to waste that amount of ingredient on one thing when I can spread, say, 3 eggs across other things and the oil, etc. So I've got a really basic cake recipe which I got from the internet when I was looking for a recipe to make pineapple cake. It's a really simple basic cake recipe, very few ingredients, but you can put anything with it. So think of it as like almost like a very plain vanilla cake, almost like a Madeira loaf kind of cake recipe, but you can add whatever other things you want in it. So I've added chopped pear, I've added raisins and cinnamon, I've added orange peel, I've added lemon peel, I've also thrown in some of that boozy fruit that I've had before. Because it's quite a plain vanilla, very light cake recipe, you can lob anything in with it. I've used it for my parsnip recipe, so I'm going to try it with the marrow and see how that goes. I think I'm also going to make my blackberry crumble flapjacks because they last a long time. I'm trying to batch up things that I know will last me for the next week and won't go off, but things that don't necessarily need to go in the freezer. So I think baked potato, loaf of bread, cake, and crumble bars, and that's a good stack of things. So I'm going to get going. What I will probably do is, instead of talking my way through the whole thing, I'm just going to film me doing the recipes, and then I will put text up here or both, with the ingredients and what I do, and then you can follow that if you're looking for really nice easy recipes. If you bake, if you have basic ingredients, I don't have fancy ingredients. I don't bake anything that requires creme fraiche or cream cheese or expensive nuts or anything like that. It's got to be what I have in the cupboard, so it'll be basic flour, bicarb, sugar, or I don't use vanilla essence, I use a cheap maple syrup that I get from Sainsbury's, does exactly the same job, and then whatever things are lurking around in the cupboard that I can throw in to make a recipe interesting. So I'm going to make all those things. I will just film it and then write it up at the side, and then hopefully you can use that. The recipes that I've been using for quite a while, so I kind of know what I'm doing, so I'm just going to get on with that, and hope you enjoy it and it gives you some ideas for home baking, because you know, cake in the shops is expensive and actually it's quite disappointing. I bake pretty much everything from scratch now, and if for some reason I buy something that's ready-made, like maybe it's on a promotion, it's 30p for a cake or something because it's on the sticker discount, or I've got it through a cashback app, they're generally really disappointing. You can tell that they're manufactured in a big industrial place. They don't have that same nice homely feel to them, and your tastes do change. Like people who always eat takeaway and think it's the best thing, whereas I'm always quite disappointed by takeaway. I went to Pizza Hut a couple of years ago just for a treat and thought I'm just going to have the all you can eat, and I'm going to stuff myself stupid. And the pizza was really disappointing, and I remember Pizza Hut being really good. And I don't suppose the pizza's changed that much, but that was back in the days when I was eating a lot more processed food and pre-prepared meals, and your taste buds change and your brain changes. So when you get used to just baking everything from scratch and eating from scratch, and when people complain about the state of ready meals, it's probably not that they're being snobbish, it's that their taste buds have changed, their ability to taste food has changed, and it tastes nicer when you make it yourself. What can I say? That's the way it is. Anyway, so I'm going to get on. I have a ton of stuff to do. Firstly, and I think I have talked about this before, what you do with a baked potato to cut down on its oven time. Now this works for me because I have a gas hob. In fact, even if you don't have a gas hob, this will still help, because the first part of the preparation of this potato will probably cut down about 2 hours of oven time. So prick it, put it in water, boil it. Boil it for between 20 and 30 minutes, depending on the size of the potato. I think I'm going to probably boil this for closer to 30 minutes. Put it in the oven, and then what you need to do, you need to brush it with oil. Brush it with oil every 10 minutes to crisp up the skin, and you will have a baked potato in less than an hour. I don't do potatoes very often. I think it's quite a waste of energy for one meal, but because I'm batching up lots of other stuff in the oven, and because I just really fancy a big baked potato with baked beans all over it for lunch today. It's Sunday, I don't have anything planned today. I did all my cleaning yesterday, so today is my own, so this is my little treat for the day. So I'm gonna get on with this. I will just prep as I go and record everything, and then cut it down into something that looks vaguely digestible, and then you can flick through at leisure. I will do speeded up sections because this could take a while. It's already 10:15 in the morning, so I'm going to get cracking so that I can eat this somewhere between 12 and 1. So enjoy. This is all that's left of that massive marrow that I recorded a short on the other day. Some of it's in the freezer. It lasts really well in the fridge, and I've just been cutting slices off it each day and putting it into stir fries. But I need to use some of this before I just eat it all, and I really want to try this cake recipe. I'm going to grate it in the same way that I would parsnip or carrot, and then we'll just see what happens. bottled last year. Not quite a full jar this one, so I'm going to use this in my crumble flapjack tart thing. Put that there. Up this amount of energy on cooking makes me nervous. So it's been 40 minutes since I put my baked potato onto boil, so it had 30 minutes of boil. That's now ready to go into the oven. Everything else is already in the oven, but the oven's off because I've been waiting for the potato. The bread is probably the thing that will take the longest, which takes 40 minutes at about 180. So I'm going to put the oven on. Everything's in there from cold because that's how I always do it. The potato's going to go in. As you saw earlier, the juice from my blackberries does not go to waste. I've made myself a little Sunday gin tonic and blackberry drink as a little treat. I don't drink at home very often, and nearly all my alcohol is gifted or free from cashback apps. I'm not really a drinker. My drinking days are over. I used to be. It just doesn't work for me anymore. And the hot water from my baked potato will be used to do the washing up from this morning's bake. So I've tried to make the most of all this, so I'm going to put the oven on and then show you how busy my oven is. Okay, I've just put my oven on. There's my potato, which will crisp up nicely. Behind that is the marrow cake. To the left at the top is the crumble flapjack, and underneath there is my bread. That's the bit that will take 40 minutes. So I'm going to let that do. It's quite a lot in here. Hang on, let me shut the oven door. It's quite a lot in there. I couldn't have fitted any more in if I tried, I don't think. But I'm hoping that I will get a week out of what I've got in that oven. That cake will last me a week. Combined with the crumble flapjacks, I'll alternate things, so it'll probably last longer than a week because I try not to eat too much sugary stuff. I'll probably keep out a couple of the breads and put the rest in the freezer. And yeah, that's and obviously the potato is for lunch today. So I'm now going to get on and use the hot water from my jacket potato to do the washing up, because there's quite a bit of washing up to do. And then I'm just waiting for my potato to be ready. And Sunday's a good one. Right, this lot is done. That all took almost an hour. And about 40 minutes in the oven. So lovely little bread loaves. This is my flapjack blackberry crumbles. And here is my cake, which might actually need a little bit more. Baked potato is still in the oven for the moment, but this is a good baking session. And it's 12:20 and we're done. It's time to taste test the marrow cake. I almost forgot to add this. So hope that's in focus. Looks like a cake. Let's do a little chef examination. Now I'm going to try it. This is really nice. You can't taste the marrow. I mean, if anything, it's really just a bulking agent, but it's much healthier. This is a really nice soft cake, and it's not too sweet. Some cakes can be really sickly. When you're making your own cake, you can decide how much you want to put in of any particular ingredient. That's what I love about this. I'm going to try another bit.
That is such a good cake. Yeah, so if you don't particularly like sweet things, but you like a bit of cake with your afternoon tea maybe, you can take down the amount of sugar that's in it to suit your taste. And it might be that you have to practice on that. It might be that you take down the sugar but you add a handful of raisins or some other kind of fruit in it to give it a natural sugar which you might prefer better. This is good, really pleased with this. And here is my baked potato, covered in beans and butter. Sunday lunch, me style. This is going to make me really happy though. Hope you've had I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you found something useful from it. Please like and subscribe. I have a whole stack of frugal cooking ideas which will save you money. Just enjoy. Over and out.